ever go into work and think, what the fuck? Do you walk around with an unapproachable look on your face? Don't have the ability to cater to your coworkers' feelings and anxiety? We want you! Helmets for the hopeless. We manufacture top quality helmets for those who cannot deal with everyday simple tasks in a variety of different colors because we are not afraid to profile. Take a stand and walk away from the constant push to accept and include those who are senseless and needy and join our team. Helmets for the hopeless, where being offensive is our purpose. Call to set up an interview now at 1-800-435-5387. That's 1-800-HELMETS.
Disclaimer. Buckle up. This episode of Three Friends and All the Things is packed with foul language, inappropriate comments, and even some streaking. If that's your jam, then welcome to the circus. Let the shenanigans begin.
Here's the bloody intro. Welcome to Three Friends and All the Things podcast, where the hosts are just here to make each other laugh. And now, here are Kris, Gia, and Jay. Three Friends and All the Things podcast. Real talk for real people.
Record menopause now because I feel like this would be a good one. We're fucking so frustrated.
What can you explain to me what Celine Dion?
Stiff person. She's like this all
Stiff
the time.
person syndrome.
And then she got addicted
She
to
like gets
pain pills.
mummified.
Welcome to Three Friends and All the Things podcast.
no.
How are you?
Oh no!
Oh,
no!
shit.
I have an echo over an echo over an echo.
Yeah.
Today we are going to be talking about mental illness.
Which I think we all have right about now. Okay.
We have been battling technical difficulties for the last 6 weeks, and this is
Kristen's about to
we're
go
back
off
to
the
this.
reservation. Like, bad.
You know what's cool? I'm at 96% uploaded, and Kris is at 28.
Oh my God.
Uploading.
Okay. So we're going to talk about mental illness, as we've all had history.
Kris, I can't even get the thing straight. Oh.
We are not laughing about mental illness. We are laughing about our own mishaps and the anger that
And our own
ensued
mental
2
illness.
seconds.
All of the technical
And-
difficulties.
And the anger that ensued right before Jay hit record. Like, we were literally like, that's it, we've had enough, we're done. And Jay's like, and we're recording. And we're like, hi, welcome to Three Friends and All the Things. Yeah, we're all insane here, just so it's made clear.
Phew.
Oh my God, my stomach hurts.
I think I'm having a hot flash now. Jeez.
And see, mental health ties in with menopause.
Wait. I think we didn't address this. The menopause, because I'm having a hot flash too. Oh my God. All right. Hi.
Okay, there's a
So,
really bad
yeah.
echo, so yeah.
Oh my God, it's awful. Hi. And just like that, I put the headphones on and it's too much heat. I'm having a hot flash right now.
Oh my God.
Right now. As we speak, I'm having a hot flash.
Okay.
I'm
Okay, let's all try to direct our
Jesus
voices
Christ.
to your individual unit. Hi, this is
Jay.
Jay.
It's like you're in a stadium and it's like Jay.
Okay. Hi, welcome to Three Friends and All the Things podcast, where we're having technical
Hello.
difficulties. If any one of our listeners is a podcast guru, please reach us at kgjmedia3@gmail.com, and please put in the subject title, "Go fuck yourself," and your technical issues. So we're going to talk about mental illness again.
Lord. Lord,
So,
On a
baby
more
Jesus.
serious note.
So hi.
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 Okay.
Okay. So mental illness month is actually, we're recording this on the last day of mental illness month, which is probably why it's all built up to this last moment. And the girls have done a ton of research. So Kris, I'm going to pass this off to you because that was the best cold open ever by me.
I'm going to tell you something though right now. When you scrub this out and you go to edit it, if this is the recording and we have to redo it, I'm going to feel some type of way. Go ahead, Kris, take it away.
I totally think we need to leave it in. Okay, so we're talking about mental illness. Mental health issues are a real thing. So, I don't want anyone listening who thinks maybe there's something going on within themselves to think that they are crazy, to feel that they will be dismissed, because you're not. You are not crazy. And you need to find the right provider for you to deal with these issues, whether that be therapy or in some cases medication, sometimes both. But mental health issues affect everyone. Okay. There's 1 in 5 Americans today, 1 in 5, who deal with mental health issue. That number is absolutely crazy. No pun intended. But to me, it's just astonishing. It's astonishing that 1 in 5 Americans have a mental health issue. I don't think it's anything that should be not discussed. No one should feel embarrassed about that. I will freely say this myself. I am on antidepressants, and you know what? I don't care. I don't care who knows it, because to me, it helps me in my daily life. I have gone to therapy. I have been on the medication. At times it was one or the other, and then they overlapped. And it has been, for me, my personal experience, it's been a godsend for me. If I don't take the medication, which if you are put on an antidepressant, take the freaking medication and take it every freaking day. Okay. Because if you don't, you start to feel like you're fine, and then you start to question, why am I even on this medication? And then you stop taking it. Bad move. Don't do it. Don't do it. If you decide you are going to not take the medication, please reach out to your medical provider to help wean you off of it. Do not go cold turkey. Okay. When I miss a day, which is very rare, my head feels like one of those like Moroccan shakers with the sand in it that you shake and it's like, like that. That's what my head feels like.
When you're not on it, you say?
When I'm not on it. Yeah. If I miss a day and I don't take it, and I feel awful, absolutely awful. I
Really?
feel
With
like,
1 day of not taking the med?
Yeah. I could feel, well, it takes a little bit of time, but like towards the end of the day, it's like brain fog. I feel like I can't concentrate. I feel like
What, you feel like you have
sort of
menopause
like,
symptoms?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I feel very floaty, like just kind of like I'm going through the motions. My head, if I turn my head like this, it's like a delayed reaction. And it's almost like my brain is like, shh, 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 like that sand in that thingy, that Moroccan shaker. I don't like the way that I feel. I don't feel myself. I feel very not myself when I'm not taking it. So my personal experience and my suggestion to anyone who is on the medication, or if you're thinking about going on the medication, it's going to affect everybody in different ways. You have to work with your provider to figure out what the best solution is for you. And that may not include medication, just so we're all aware. You have to work with your provider to figure out the best solution and results for you with the least amount of side effects. So just saying. That's, but I just think it's I just think it's astonishing that many people have a mental health disorder, and that could be in any form.
Right. Like 1 in 5,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talk about this all the time, right? Where, you start to wonder, what's going on. And you feel bad. You feel bad for the people involved. But I also think that there's a lot of enablers out there, and also antagonistic people too, where, first of all, Kris, you're very brave for talking about it. But the other thing is, like, I think people make fun of you for it too. And you have to take meds. You take your crazy meds. I hate that. I hate when
People make fun
say
of
you
me
have to
anyway. Hell, I make fun of me. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
right.
Oh,
So I hate when people say, you got to take your crazy meds. I think that's the worst thing you can say to people.
Agree.
100%.
Agree. Because they're already feeling some type of way that they know they have something that's not right with inside themselves. And then, just making fun.
Right. So part of mental illness, when we're talking about it, we have to bring up therapy, right? I mean, that's a big thing. Have you guys ever been to therapy?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And anyone that says that they haven't, they could be lying. I mean, maybe they're not. Maybe some people don't go to therapy, but I think everybody should at least try it once in their life. A couple times I've been in my lifetime. I mean, not like 2 visits. I just mean, in a lifetime. It does help. I mean, it really does. It does help to talk to someone. But I think that if you're not receptive to the information that's being fed to you, then I don't think you're going to make any progress, if that makes any sense at all.
Well, yeah, that makes perfect sense, because in the end, you have to be willing to receive it. It's kind of like what everybody says when they go, they have to be ready to admit it, that they have a problem and deal with it. And I think a lot of cases, people aren't, and they say, and they feel forced, or they're like, oh, go and do this, but it's not going to work because people say it doesn't work, and then they get there and it doesn't work. It's just one of those things that it does work if you're willing to accept it. And, I say this all the time, where I feel like, therapists, I mean, no offense to therapists out there, but I don't feel like they're any brighter than anybody else. I just feel like they're just saying the things that we can't say to ourselves, right? So I believe that they're sitting there, well, how does that make you feel? Well, why do you keep doing that if it makes you feel that way?
I think the reason why therapy is a good thing is because you have a third party outside of the situation who, as they say, I don't know who they are, but, as it is said, it's easier to see from outside the situation than it is when you're in the middle of it. So when you're having a moment and you go to therapy, you're having somebody there who's outside the situation, who is not judgmental, who is going to ask you, well, how does this make you feel? Because they're trying to gain the understanding from your perspective so they can guide you in the right way. That's my take on it. I don't know how other people feel about it, but that's my personal opinion on that, on therapists and what their job is to help people.
Finding out things that happened in our childhood. That obviously creates our behavior as an adult over time. And, you figure that out. Sometimes I think people don't figure that out for a really long time in therapy. And, and sometimes I think people can figure that out rather quickly. That does not mean that I'm saying that you should stop going once you figure that out. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying I think the progress for everyone is a little different. But I also think that, things that happen when we were a child, listen, we didn't have ADD. We didn't have ADHD. We didn't have anxiety. There was no such thing, right? And since this is our second time trying to go through this, we said earlier in our little discussion that, they just kind of told us like, hey, you'll get over it. They're kid. They're resilient. Don't worry about it. They'll bounce back. It's fine. Until we get older and we become adults and we're like, hyper anxiety ridden, or find out that we have ADD as adults. And they were just, oh, you're a hyper kid. That's all. No, no, no.
Mhm.
I wasn't just a hyper kid and I wasn't just struggling in school. There was a problem. There was a problem. And we have to go through therapy to figure that out now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you bring up an excellent point too, because like, you know, think about our kids growing up, our parents and us being kids growing up. You know, we were hyper. Our parents just beat the shit out of us. They didn't give us medication, you know, like I don't understand today's
Yeah.
world.
I agree. I mean, it was nothing to get backhanded, or my mom would do this hard. You know, like if we were in a store, if I said something and she didn't like it, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the hand signals.
Right.
You knew the hand signals. That was like sometimes worse because you
Right.
knew
Or
you were
wait till
still
we get in the
gonna get it,
car, and then you get in the
you
car
know,
and
when you left. But no, right.
but yeah, you're right.
You know, I was just reading. I was, you know, I don't know if this is like within topic, but I was just reading an article. I read Reddit for my middle of the night entertainment. Um, and there was a question, you know, would I be the asshole if, you know, whatever the question was, right? And the story behind it was a lady had her sister and the sister's family over, and they have a toddler, and the toddler picked up a coaster and went over to the couch where the dog was sleeping and just hit the dog on the head, right? Now, honestly, I'd have the same
Dog.
reaction. Yeah, hit the dog in the head, right? Dog's sleeping, minding its own business, right? Dog didn't do anything, you know, just gets whacked in the head. The lady goes and grabs her niece or nephew, whatever it was, and says something along the lines like, we don't do that in this house. You don't hit animals. You need to be kind to them, and takes the coaster away from the kid and doesn't let the kid play with it, right? Total reaction I would have had. Okay. Didn't yell, scream, hit, nothing, but just, you know, firmly said. The kid's mom, the lady's sister, is now saying that an, an apology is warranted to the toddler. No,
No way.
no,
Yeah, no, hell with that.
no, no. No. And that's the kind of behavior you get away with. And so what's going to happen when the kid gets older? Is the kid going to grow up and think it's okay to hit people? Does the kid suddenly have PTSD because they were put in their place and being instructed by someone with common sense to, you know, instruct this kid like, hey, you don't do that? And now what is the kid going to claim? Like, oh, I have PTSD, I have ADHD because I was told. Like, I'm sorry, the toddler needed to be told off. Sorry, just my personal opinion. But like, where is this kid going to go if there's no instruction? Is the kid going to, you know, down the track, like if the parents tell the kid no, we were told no all the time. Can I go out and play? No. Can I go down the shore with my friends? No. Can I go to the movies? No. We accepted it. That was it. Kids today are told no, and it's like the world is going to end. And they act like, oh my God, I have PTSD. I have anxiety issues. I'm afraid to ask because I'm going to be told to, like,
Well, I mean, that's
the whole world is just going to hell in a handbasket, just saying. But I think a lot
well,
of it.
I mean, that's
Go ahead.
that's the crazy part in it, right? Is that um the people, like, I don't know, they just I actually think that, you know, kind of tying it back to mental illness, that parents with mental illness kind of pass those
For
traits
sure.
along to their kids, if that makes any sense.
For sure.
And I think that that's the difficult part.
Mm-hmm. Because you have to deal with it. You need to deal with it. In 2020, according to the a government website that Sam HSA, whatever that website is, I forget what that, it's samhsa.gov. In 2020, only 20% of adults received any mental health treatment in that year. 10% of those
You
received
say
counseling or therapy
20% of
from a
Americans
professional.
in 2020.
20% of adults in 2020. Mm-hmm. And doing my research, you know, I do see that, you know, mental illness does kind of go down the family tree. In some cases, not all, but in some cases, there's a lot of factors that go into it. It could be environmental factors. It could be, childhood trauma. It could be, it could basically be anything really. But I don't think that anybody who feels that there is something seriously wrong should be made fun of. My personal take on it is, um, anybody who realizes that they have a problem and they want to go and get help for it should be commended. They should be commended because they realize and admit to themselves that they have a problem, but then they take the steps to go and fix it. So, you know, to me, that is a sign of strength and resilience, and people need to be commended for that and be acknowledged for that and not be embarrassed by that or made fun of it, because that's just a bunch of crap in my theory. I think it takes a lot of courage to admit that you have a problem regarding anything, like whatever the serious, whether it's addiction or abuse or doesn't matter. If you are strong enough to admit that you have a problem right off the bat, you're winning half the
I
battle.
agree, right? I agree.
You're winning half the battle. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the part to that too with all that is like people try to keep other people down, right? So I feel like if you sit there and say I have mental illness and I'm getting help for it, people are like, "Oh, what the fuck is wrong with you?" "Oh, that's funny. You're getting help for it." "Yeah, like what type of help are you getting?" Like that's been said, and 9 out of 10 times that is the person who has an issue.
Correct. They say that, again, we don't know who they are, but it is said that anybody who,
It's Jesus.
what if it's Apostle John?
It's God. Three Friends and All the Things podcast. This is God.
For the love of God.
You are all fucked in the head and have mental illness on different levels.
Be right back,
for the
Jesus.
love of me.
Oh, okay. And we're back. Yeah. So, there's a lot of things that you can do. It's not just about the medication either. There's lifestyle changes. And that could be the people you hang around. There are environmental factors and stressors that bring that on, and you can change that, But like Jay said, people who want to bring others down, it's a flaw in the person who's being negative, who's making fun of you. It's a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves. And honestly, if someone's going to make fun of you and someone's going to, talk down to you or whatever, that's
For sure.
them problem. That's not you. So don't let
Correct.
them make
Correct.
you feel that it's you. It's them. It's a direct reflection, because there's some hatred or something within themselves that they don't like, and they're trying to project that onto you, but it's not about you. It's not about you at all. It's about them. So, they're the ones that need help. So.
It's funny that you say that, Kris, because like there's multiple levels about this, right? Because you have people who, obviously it's about them, right? And then you have serious people who have serious issues going on, right?
Correct.
So they
Correct.
have they have like, they need medication because that's the only thing that's
Yeah.
going to correct it.
Right.
And then you got these people who, I must be bipolar because I feel this way today or I feel that way today. And then, aside from those two things fighting each other, then you have the people who are like begging and pleading with somebody to get help, and they don't. And they're like,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a girlfriend, and she had a bunch of things happen to her. There was death in the family and job losses, and everything just seemed to come in like a wave. And the minute she would try to stand up, it was like the wave came and knocked her back over again, and you could see her spiraling down, and, I tried talking to her and, hey, are you all right? And then as she was talking to me, it turned out that mental illness did run in her family. And, I said to her, I'm like, well, there's nothing wrong with going to get counseling or therapy or whatever you want to call it, same thing. And she did, and she ended up going a few times. And I said, look, I don't know if you're on medication or not, but my opinion on based on your behavior, what you have shown lately, um, I think maybe you should talk to your doctor about possibly getting put on something. I don't know if she ever did. But like her behavior like started to upswing, which was good. But for a while there, I was like, dude, I don't know what the hell is wrong with you. Like, and it was like she would go to extremes. It was like the manic part of it, and I was like, this is a little scary. And I've never dealt with anybody like that before. I've never had anybody in my life that was manic like that. Like one day she like couldn't get out of bed. The next day she's running around the neighborhood being like the do-gooder of the neighborhood. And it's like, what the hell are you doing? And I'm not going to say it was because of me, but I did talk to her. Other people also talked to her, and I believe she finally went and saw somebody and got the help and assistance that she needed. And I think there was a little bit of embarrassment there on her part, and there shouldn't have been. And I told her that, like, there's no reason for you to be upset. And honestly, who cares what other people think? You're taking control of the situation instead of the situation taking control of you. So, I thought that was really brave on her part to go and do that.
Yeah, I think anybody who's brave enough to do that, yeah, I think anybody who's brave enough to do that deserves some kudo, but I don't think society lets us do that, right? And I go back to so many people who've had issues, and I go back to my mother, someone who slept on the couch in the middle of the day and, had depression issues, and they didn't deal with anything back then. They just kind of like poo-pooed it, and the other part to all that is like today, I think it's so forefront, such an issue that it's almost not taken seriously because it's done in an extreme.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a really
And
good
it
point.
loses
I
some
hadn't
type
really
of
ever
value.
looked at it that way. So that's a good point that you bring up there, Jay. Just because, like Kris said, it's the statistics of 1 in 5.
Well, unfortunately, we live in a world where where statistics are not always brought to fruition. So, and people deal on the right or the left. I mean, we see it all the time in the environment we're in now, politically, religious, all of that. But, they take a cause and they say, hey, bipolar, mental illness, it's an issue. It's an issue with our soldiers. It's an issue with this. It's an issue with women. It's an issue. How about it's just an issue? It's an issue with everybody because it doesn't matter if you're a woman, a man, black, white, a first responder, a soldier, anything. It's an issue. So what are we going to do to deal with it? And nobody ever looks at it that way because they always look at it from a selfish point of view. Like, hey, what can we do to get ahead on this? I want to look good, so I'm going to champion mental illness. And that's not the case. But meanwhile, someone's suffering. Someone close to us is suffering, and that's what needs to be looked at.
And one of the things that I've noticed with mental health issues, if someone is depressed, they may not necessarily be, diagnosed by a physician. People think they're lazy. Oh, you're lazy. You're weak. You don't do anything. You're just lazy. You just want to lay around and do nothing all day. There's nothing wrong with you. Get up and go outside. Go ride your bike. Go out and play. Go do some gardening. Whatever it is. No, that's not the answer. There are,
and that's where like relationships suffer, right?
Right. That's where every relationship. There's biological factors, genes, physical illness, injury, brain chemistry. There's life experiences that are involved and family history of mental health. Like all of those things can and probably do contribute. Maybe not all at once. Maybe in some cases, all of those things, at once. I don't know. But having a mental illness does not make you lazy. It does not make you weak. It does not make you any less of a person than what you are. You are who you are. And these things do happen. Like Gia said earlier, We didn't have these things like ADHD. It's kind of like the peanut allergy in school. The kids, all of a sudden, where did this peanut allergy come from? All of a sudden, kids can't take freaking peanut butter. That was like a staple lunch in grade school. Peanut butter and jelly. Here's your lunch.
And the crust
Take your peanut butter and jelly. Do you want it with crust? Do you want it cut in triangles? Whatever. Right now, the crust, yeah. But now, kids either need to be separated, and if you have peanut butter, you have to sit at this table because whatever child cannot even be near, or you're just not allowed to have peanut butter at all. It's the craziest thing. They don't even serve peanuts on a plane anymore. You get these crappy pretzel sticks and they're just, I bring my own snacks. Anyway, they don't do these things anymore. But why is it that we never had these issues and now all of a sudden we do? I think it's because in today's age, and the times that we live in, things are talked about more freely than they used to be. It's not a black cloud to have a mental illness. Some cases are more severe than others. Some people need more help than others.
No,
but I don't think it's anything that anybody should.
No, it is
hide.
courageous to come out and
Don't
talk
hide
about.
it.
And I think that, people,
it's courageous to come out and talk about.
Eastern medicine always, I think, takes a backseat even still to this day. And there are things that we can do for ourselves at home that can change our minds and literally change our thinking. I have personally been on a road for mindfulness for a long time. And that's something that I had started out with doing yoga. And I started doing that a really long time ago, back when I was living in Florida, like my second year down there, maybe even. And I've been practicing yoga. I was at a point where I was practicing yoga 5 days a week, but along with that comes meditation. And some people say how difficult it is to meditate. And I think that it is. I think for someone that has a brain like mine that doesn't stop, keeps going. I think that trying to meditate is a difficult thing. But if you keep going, you can get there. And listen, sometimes while you're meditating, sometimes even still for me, sometimes it just doesn't work. And I have to go back and start again. And there are things like apps on your phone that can help you, that will walk you, and they are called guided meditations. And I think people take things like the practice of yoga, which is a mind and body mindfulness. So you're learning about your body, you're moving, you're stretching, but it's also in your mind. And unless someone has really sat down and practiced yoga, it's very hard to explain to them what it can actually do for your mind and what meditation can do for your mind, or things like breath work. The yoga studio where I attend, and unfortunately I haven't been there lately, but I still practice yoga every single day, whether it's mindful, whether I'm stretching, I'm doing things every single day. And there are things that everyone does in their daily that is a practice of yoga, and they just don't know. But
Gia was doing yoga this morning when the three of us were on a phone call trying to prep for today's podcast. And we were on a FaceTime call, and she was literally
There's
sitting.
nothing that could prep us for today. Yeah.
Well, there's that.
Side
but
stretching.
I don't know if you noticed, but this morning, Gia was literally sitting in her living room, and she was stretching, and I was, she was doing this. Yeah, I was in my head as we're talking, I'm thinking, good for her for doing yoga. Yeah. But I saw you doing it, but I was like, wow, like she's definitely doing her yoga. So listen, Gia does
like
not,
I said, this yoga
journey
of mine
she was
has
actually
been going
doing
on
yoga
for
this
years,
morning while we were prepping.
I think both you and Jay know that I've went and got certified to teach at the yoga studio where I go in Hamilton. Forge Soul, anybody? Give a little plug out. And I lost my connection. You did? Okay. I'm so sorry. I apologize. It says I'm lost over here. I went and I got certified to teach, and it was a year process for us because of how our class did it.
Yeah.
But it was a journey. And quite frankly, I never did that with the intention to teach. I wanted it for my mind. I wanted to learn more about my body and more about what yoga can do and just all the things that I'm not going to get into, because then I'll just shift our whole entire conversation. But the point is that taking a moment and meditating and maybe doing some breath work. We do that over at the studio too. A wonderful girl named Lisa who does breath work, and I've done it, and I really didn't know what to expect when I was doing it. And man, oh man, I'll tell you what, I went to some place and I was crying my eyes out. I couldn't stop. And the instructor was Lisa and our other instructor Jackie, and she's a very good friend of mine. And she just kind of came over to me and she sat down and she just put her arms around me, and like I just couldn't even control it. But these are things that happen when you do breath work. So the point is that it almost becomes like a therapy in and of itself, is where I'm kind of trying to bring this conversation back to. But for those people that have maybe been interested in trying, I encourage you to find a studio near you and just go and check it out. There's a lot of different types of yoga. There is meditation at the end of the class. It's usually very, very slow, or very, very quick time of yoga. But there's apps on your phone, guys. You can just download an app and they'll walk you through it and they'll guide you through it. I listen to a meditation every single night to slow my brain down, and it helps me to sleep. It's called Yoga Nidra. There's a lot of different types of meditation. So I I encourage people to really look into that, because it will change you. It will change you. It will change your mindset. It'll change the way you walk. It will change the way you look at the world. It will change your attitude. You'll find yourself becoming more patient, to which I have none of lately, but we're just blaming that on menopause.
No, and she's right. You know, G is 100% accurate. I took a yoga class and I always thought my mind is too busy and too, yoga's too slow and I can't slow my brain down. And I went to a yoga class with with a friend of mine who was taught by a mutual friend. Shout out to Danny B for his yoga techniques. This guy is Danny B is amazing. He is amazing. And he specifically said in the beginning of the class, something might open up and you might cry. And like Gia, I was crying and I can't explain where it came from, but I left that class and I was like, oh my God. And I felt fantastic. It was something. I don't know what it was. And I have to say, because of Danny's teaching technique and like how great of an instructor I thought he was, I started to really enjoy it. And now, not that I've been to the gym lately because we've been super busy, but I have started taking yoga classes at the gym, and I actually look forward to them now because, like Gia said, it slows your mind down. I am by no means what you would call a yogi. I mean, I can barely bend over and touch my toes. Like, I am so out of shape. It's not even funny, but give it a try. There was also an app that I used on my iPad at night. It was this like virtual coloring app, and you could go in and it was like this 3D module, and there was like this very calming music and a very calming voice, and it would tell you a story, and then you'd have to go into the picture and find where you were supposed to like color and tap all the different things. And you ended up having this beautiful picture afterwards. I would have to say most of the time I fell asleep before my picture was done because I got so relaxed and just, that's part of the mindfulness and, just trying to, just slow everything down a little bit. And it helped me sleep better. It helped me focus more the next day. And I felt rested. I felt like I could deal with things better. I did that before and after being put on my medication, and I loved it. You think I could find the app now? No, but if I do, I will definitely let everybody know what that app is. It was awesome. It was really great. I'll have to go and see if I can find it again. But yeah, it was one of those meditation apps.
So from my experience, I found therapy being that, you know, where I was going to therapy, and I you know, my service started, you know, in the fire service where it was a really bad accident and there were 2 dead. My first call was 2 dead people. So, I realized probably about 20 years in that, I had significant issues, because the first piece of advice that I got in the fire service was, to be able to, you know, kind of shut it off, shut your feelings off. And that's not really a good thing, because that bled over into my personal life. So what happened there was, you know, I realized there was an issue. I went to therapy, and I was going for months. And then one day, like, I remember sitting in my bedroom, and it just hit me just like that. And I cried for like, I remember going to work, coming home and crying, and then getting ready for work the next day, because you didn't sleep during this time, and it just all came out. Every vision, things that I thought I'd forgotten. The frontal lobe is amazing, when you think about it. So, you know, we've all had those experiences, and I think yoga, yeah, as much as I would love to get into yoga,
You
because
can.
I think physically and mentally it's amazing. I think one of the benefits
I want to do goat
from life
yoga.
is that you can find yoga everywhere, right? You can find it whether
I did
you're
goat
just in a
yoga.
quiet room, right?
Yes, you heard that correctly. I did
or
goat yoga.
So
Goat yoga was
I
you
want to do
say
awesome.
that,
screaming
and there
goat
are walking
yoga. Yeah.
meditations
And
where you can
I
walk
wanna
But
through the
do
even
warrior
woods
like
and
going
yoga.
on
you're
a walk by
meditating.
yourself
And
is
there are
yoga, right?
so many
You
different
know,
types of
just taking time for
meditations,
yourself.
and you can just sit in your room and stare at the wall. That is a meditation. You know, there's you can meditate over an open flame, whether it's a fire or a candle. That's a meditation. I've done them. But Kris, to go back to what you were saying, you were in class and you just had your meltdown and, you know, just crying. So what a lot of people don't know is that we hold all of our stress and our trauma. I mean, as women, I think we're very prone into here, but in our hips. So when we go into that butterfly pose, I'm just going to go like this, and our hips are like this, you know, as we release and all that muscle kind of relaxes. You know, we let go of a lot of trauma, and that is where all that comes from. And you say, you know, you break down. There are certain things that will help release that. And that's one of the wonderful things I think about yoga. But as far as like meditating, I use a timer. It's called Insight Timer. It's free. As a matter of fact, the owner of Forged Soul, Karen, told me about that, and I've been using it ever since, and I love it. It's a great app, and I encourage everybody to do it. There's stories on there. You could do yoga on there. You can meditate on there. You could do nighttime meditation. There's so much. There's music, sounds, everything. And I do love it. But yes, there are all different types.
But, you know, I don't think it's necessarily
No,
I
right.
I don't think it's necessarily about just doing yoga or just going to your doctor and getting medication or just going to therapy. You know, I do not run. Okay. If a serial killer came after me, I would just be like, go ahead, take me now. Like, literally, take me now. When I was living overseas, my friend Tom, shout out to Tom, Thomas J. Tom said to me, you know, you should come and do park run. And I'm like, what the hell is park run? And where I lived in Australia, there were a lot of parks, clearly by the name, a lot of parks, and they had, you know, the sidewalks that went through and different, you know, they had like a dog, an off leash dog area and a playground area, and you know, just whatever. And the parks they were beautiful, you know. And so every Saturday morning, they would do park run, which was a 5K
I remember you doing this.
through the park. It was 2 laps through the park, and it was a free event, and everybody, you know, anybody could go. Anybody could go. Didn't matter. And then if you signed up and you got a barcode, it helped. Right. And it helped you keep a tab on how many races you did, where you came in overall, where you came in your age group, where you came in your gender group, the whole thing. And then it broke it down and gave every single person's time at the end of it. And I started doing this, and at first I was like, I suck, whatever, right? And it took me a while. And then as I started recruiting more people, asking more people to go. And then at work, we had a group of, I think there were like 6 or 7 of us. And if you could make it, you went. And if you couldn't go, then you just didn't, whatever. Or maybe you went to a different location if you weren't going to be in town or whatever. You could go to any single one of them that you wanted to. And we started going as a group. And then Tom and I started getting into a competition over who had more park runs. And then it became like, for me, when it comes to competition, I will not back down. So I'm like, all right, let's go, tough guy, let's go. Right. And so it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. He'd be ahead of me, and then he'd have soccer, and I would go to park run and he didn't go. So I'd be like another race up on him. And to me, it became fun because it was like a competition between me and Tom. But then Tom was much faster, so he would get done the race faster. Tom would loop back around and find me, and he would push me to run. Don't stop running, and I'd be like, I have a cramp, and he's like, walk it off, let's go, time to run. And he would push me, and he would always go, come on, sub 40, which means he wanted me to do the 5K in under 40 minutes. And he was a big inspiration. He really pushed me to do it. Sometimes I get 40 minutes, sometimes I get 41, whatever. And then he'd be like, oh, all right, maybe next week. And then, he would just torment me all week. But he was like Slugworth from Willy Wonka. I'd be running or, trying to run. And then all of a sudden he would just like pop out from behind a tree, like Slugworth. And I'm like, what the hell? And then he would torment me the entire time. I'm like, can you just go ahead, please? And he's like, no. And he would literally stand right next to me. But they doing park run and having friends like Tom and Warren, shout out to Warren G, Tom and Warren and me and Sean and, sometimes Royce would go and Trevor, we'd all go as a group, and we would do it together on a Saturday morning at 7:00. Okay. And because of the competition that Tom brought to it for me, it made me want to get out of bed and be a better person. And believe me, there were times where I was like, oh, no, we're not going today. Yeah, I'm too tired. And then I'd feel guilty. But doing park run for me was like my way of dealing with the things I was going through. After it was over, I felt accomplished. I felt like I had something done for the day. I would go grocery shopping afterwards and go home and clean the house and do the laundry and, do all the errands I had to do because I got up and I felt like I had something that inspired me, really. So it doesn't really matter what it is that inspires you. Find something, whether it's yoga, whether it's park run, whether it's, just hanging out with your friends, whether it's watching a show on Netflix by yourself, taking some me time. Totally fine. My me time, going to get reflexology, going to get a massage, going to get my nails done, maybe go to a movie. Go to a movie by yourself. Nothing wrong with it. Who cares? You're in a dark theater. No one's going to make fun of you. Who gives a shit, right? Find something. And if you can't find something, talk to somebody. Talk to somebody, reach out. Be supportive. Be supportive of someone reaching out to you, but know that you have friends that will be supportive of you if you are the person that is in the slump or the downward spiral. Just reach out.
Yeah, and that's 100%. And I'm glad. I think we've done enough talking about it, and I think it's time for people to start doing and start taking care of themselves and their own mental health. And you are the number one person. Whether you love somebody and you're married and you have a family, those people depend on you, and they deserve the best version of you. So whatever you need to do to make that happen, just remember, you control the things that you can control, and you will be better for it, and so will the people around you.
I'd like to add in that if you feel that you are having a mental health crisis, if you feel that you need emotional support, please reach out to 988. 988 is the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. They will provide emotional support. They will listen to you. please just reach out. If you can't talk to someone please call 988 and reach out, even if it's anonymously, to the Suicide and Crisis Hotline.
Okay.
Well, it didn't start out that way.
All right. Well, I know this was a very serious podcast, and we talked about some. Yeah, it didn't start off that way. I mean, I was going to say I need emotion. I'm going to say that we need emotional support and from this podcast and the technical difficulties, but I think we made it work, and we're getting better. And we'd like to say thank you to everyone who is sticking with us, and
thank you to everyone
remember,
who's
you guys are
assisted in making this happen.
Yes. I mean, we have to give a shout out to Scott, Joe, Lori, Lana, Colleen, Brad. You guys have all really stepped up and helped us. And if we could have one more person step up and help us with technology, that would be great.
No.
Please, we're begging for our mental sanity. Right. Please help us.
I'm hitting the crisis line right now. Yeah. So from everyone here, Kris, Gia, and Jay at Three Friends and All the Things podcast, we thank you guys, and we'll catch you next time around.
I mean, how could I forget to tag myself? Oh my God.
Thanks for listening to the show. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. See you next time on Three Friends and All the Things podcast. Real talk, real people. New episodes drop every week, so hit follow, leave a review, and tell your messiest friend to listen too. You know the one I'm talking about. Until next time, keep it real, keep it loud, and keep doing all the things.